We get pleased this morning to introduce Emily Goodright. She is the Interim Director of Residential Services for ImagineHousing. And where we've heard a lot about ImagineHousing and their new buildings and projects they have going on, the focus today is around residential services. So what services that Imagine provides to the residents that live in their buildings. And we will have in about 2 years, we will have, well, maybe 3 years. 2029 is our projected opening. We will have 100 families, 350 people joining us here on campus. So we get it here, and we can start to think about, part of this is think about how we as a congregation can engage with these new families joining us on our campus here. So with that, I'll turn it over to him.
Perfect. Thank you, and thank you for the mic. I am a choir singer, and I've been doing a lot of singing the last few months, and so my voice is very strained right now. So I really appreciate it.
They have a place in the loft here for you.
Perfect. Come join us. All right, so this is our agenda for today. I'm going to do like a brief ImagineHousing, which I know you all are pretty familiar with who we are, a little bit about Forest Edge, who we serve, but I'll try and spend the bulk of the time talking about resident services. And again, I'm Emily Goodright. I am the Interim Director of Resident Services at ImagineHousing, so I oversee the Resident Services Department. And Hal thought I should mention that I am an alumni of Pacific Lutheran University. I do have an association with the Lutheran Church. All right, so we will get, oh yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm also like, I kind of want to see this. So who is ImagineHousing? ImagineHousing actually started right here at St. Andrew's Lutheran Church in, not 1990, was it 1992? We had our first building opened in 1992, which is Andrew's Arms in Issaquah. So that was the first building that opened through the St. Andrew's Housing Group. In 2011, ImagineHousing got its new name, ImagineHousing. But for those of you who don't know who ImagineHousing is, we are the largest nonprofit on the Eastside that develops and operates affordable housing on the Eastside. And through that, we offer resident services, which is really to focus on this piece of building welcoming communities and fostering vibrant futures. So through our resident services programs, we're really able to do that with the residents who come into our buildings. Next slide. And so just a little overview of where we are, because we are all over the place. So we have properties all the way down. We are in Mercer Island. We're out in Issaquah. We are going to be up in Bothell very, very soon.
Yeah, we'll see.
We currently have 15 properties that we own and operate that are open and where people are living right now. We also have 2 partner developments where we offer resident services on site. So one of those is Capella in Redmond and Ardea in Kirkland, which recently opened and is for seniors 55 plus. And then in the pipeline, we have Forest Edge right here at St. Andrews. Then we have The Approach in Kenmore, which is going to be a partnership with Habitat for Humanity and will offer home ownership opportunities for people as well as rental. And then in a partnership with St. Peter's United Methodist Church, we will also be doing another multifamily property. So we have a lot in the pipeline. TBD on all of those timelines though. Okay, so who do we serve? So who are we serving at our properties? Who are we serving through our resident services programs? So these are all numbers from 2025. So in 2025, we served almost 1,600 individuals. Of those individuals, 46% identified as people of color. And so that's people self-identifying to us. We served 378 seniors. We currently have 4 properties where we serve seniors exclusively. We serve 406 children, 55 veterans. So these are people self-identifying as veterans. So we could have served more and they just didn't identify to us that they did have veteran status. 221 households who one person in the household at least identified as living with a disability. So there could have been more people in that household who do have a disability. So we may be serving more individuals overall. And then 192 households previously experiencing homelessness. So we do have, at about 8 of our properties, units that are designated for people who are exiting being unhoused. But we also have people coming into our program just who are regular tax credit units who may also self-identify as having been unhoused at some point. So this number also may be a lot larger than it is up here on the screen. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little overview of Forest Edge because I know you guys have gotten a lot of information from Troy, Lucy, E about this project. But Forest Edge is going to be a building that opens here, again, at St. Andrews. This building will have rents affordable to people making 60% or less of the area median income. So that means all of our units will be 60% units, so people coming into this unit will need to be making 60% or less of that area median income. So what that maximum income amount is $84,840. That might change by the time our building opens. It likely will, because these are numbers from 2025. But that currently would be the max income that a family could be making of 3. So a family of 2, it would be a different amount. A family of 1, it would be a different amount. And then 25 of those units will be set aside specifically for people who have physical disabilities. So how we will fill these units is we will be doing outreach to nonprofits in the area that serve people or organizations in the area that serve people with physical disabilities, and let them know first that we have a unit available. That unit will be available for a certain amount of time. If we don't get somebody to fill it who has a physical disability, it will then be offered to anyone else. And then we are gonna have a parking garage, which is wonderful. I think there's gonna be like 88 spots, but parking is very important for our properties. As we build new properties, we're always looking to see how we can build more parking, because that always seems to be an issue. And then we're gonna have studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. 21% of our units will be 3 bedrooms, so hopefully we'll be able to serve some larger families through that. And then thoughtful design. So we are going to, because of the location of the project, which will be here, we are gonna have the opportunity to have a lot of open spaces, community spaces, and a playground. And I know we're gonna have to cut down some trees, but we're really gonna be able to preserve just the natural surrounding beauty here, which is wonderful. This is a wonderful place for people to be able to live because it's so beautiful. And move on. Okay, and so timeline. So it looks like, and this is not my realm, so we may be at a different point in this timeline, but it looks like our next step is continuing to work on funding applications and close on development financing. So we just need money so we can develop. And then it sounds like projected opening is hopefully 2029.
So construction targeted is about this time next year. So instead of December.
Can you give them the mic so it's on the recording?
Oh, yes.
Projected construction start, everything's going well. The permit was submitted in March. Funding is going along quite well. So the anticipated right now, construction start is this time next year, which would then give us a mid-2029 opening rather than December, or what they're showing up to early 2030. So about 6 months ahead of what's Emily, but they don't want to overpromise for us, so I just keep the pressure on.
Yeah. All right. So next slide. So resident programs, that is what I'm here to talk to you about. So again, I'm the Director of Resident Services, and I oversee a team of, how many of us are there now? 16 people. So we have 2 resident services managers. They oversee our case managers who work on site at our properties. And then we have 1 community programs and partnerships manager. So they really focus on developing those partnerships with community organizations and bringing them on site. I have a slide to show you of some of the partnerships that we're currently working with. We have so many, but I'll highlight a few that we are working with. So of our resident services staff, 13 are case managers, and they are spread across all of the properties that we serve, whether that is one that we own and operate or one that we are doing a partner development with. I am assuming that we will have 1 full-time case manager here at Forest Edge. I'm not really sure what that's looking like right now, but the size of the building indicates to me that we'll have at least one, maybe even 1.5, maybe 2, I don't know. It'll all depend on funding. But what our case managers do on site with our residents is really focused on a personalized, one-on-one case management approach. Case management is voluntary for all of the people that enter our program. It doesn't matter how they enter our program. They can access us if they want. They don't have to access us if they don't want to access us. So our case managers do a lot of outreach to let the residents know what is available to them. So we kind of have 3 pillars of services that we provide, with an extra one that's not on here, but I always like to include as something that we also do. So one of the things that we do is provide supplemental basic needs to our residents on site. We have found by that offering basic needs such as laundry support, personal care items, paper products, that is able to offset some of those other costs that people have, because those products, as we all know, are very expensive. So being able to provide this supplemental to people can kind of ease some of the worry about having those items, and then they can focus their resources someplace else. Then we have our community programming. So this is community events. This is bringing partners on site to share about what they do in our communities and what they can offer to our residents. Events include coffee and donut hour, which is a popular one, and we do at almost all of our properties, because who doesn't love coffee and donuts? We have it here today. We do a lot of community meals. We'll have partners like King County Metro come on site during one of our community meals and table and talk about the services that they offer. We have Valentine's Day events, St. Patrick's Day events. We typically do big community meals around the holidays, so we'll have a gratitude dinner or a winter dinner for our residents. They love food. Our residents love food. So that's something to consider as you are thinking about how you all can contribute in the future when we have Forest Edge. So our residents do really love food, but a big piece of what we want to try to do is not only to connect our residents to each other, but to connect them to their communities through partners. And so providing community events on site, and I'll be able to tell you how many we did last year, is really important to our programming.
What kinds of food?
I mean, pizza. We have case managers doing chili bars. They'll do like cup and noodle bar is a new one that has come up, which is very popular with our residents. So it can be anything. Food is, everyone loves food. And then we have resources and referrals. And so this is a really big one. This is when residents have something they want to be connected to. Maybe they need to get connected to an employment program, educational resources, assistance for eviction prevention. They can go to our case managers, and our case managers have a slew of resources and information and are able to provide those referrals to people. If they're noticing that a lot of residents have the same need, that's when we do partner outreach and have the partner come on site and table for our residents at an event, so they can have that direct connection. But resources and referrals is really like foundation to case management, and so that's a big part of what we're doing on a daily basis. Case managers are in their offices, and residents can pop in and get that support. For our sites that don't have offices, which is, I would say, maybe about half of our properties, the case managers are kind of on call and on demand to the residents, and the residents can email or call them to get that support. And yes?
Yeah, I think, don't some of the ImagineHousing places have things like after-school homework systems?
Yes,
like that?
we do. We have at one of our properties.
So that it shows up on there.
Repeat the question.
Oh.
So it shows.
Do any of our properties have like after-school homework support? So at one of our properties, well, our one property in Sammamish, Highland Gardens, we partner with the school district out there, and they come after school 1 day a week to support residents with homework support. But that's something that we would love to do at more of our properties. It's just about kind of having the teachers having the capacity to provide that after school support. But that's totally something that we could explore here at Forest Edge, since it will be multifamily and we'll have lots of kiddos, I'm assuming. And then something that isn't on here but kind of rolls into resources and referrals is our relationship with property management. So Imagine Housing contracts with an outside property management company called Indigo, and they do all of our on-site operations. They do all of our leasing. They manage rent collection, they distribute notices to residents, and so our case managers meet with them at least weekly to see what's going on site. Which residents need support, which residents are potentially in eviction, which residents need resources. And every month, our property management teams will send any notices that residents received. So that could be lease violations, that could be non-payment of rent, and our case managers will then be able to do outreach to those specific residents with the resources that they need in order to maintain the terms of their lease. And so that is a very crucial part to what we do, and so being able to develop a healthy and supportive partnership with property management is very important to the success and stability of our residents. Yes.
St. Margaret's has a housing program, and they have had some difficulty with the property management not quite doing as well as it would like it to be. I don't remember exactly the details on that, but I was hoping that Forest Ridge would have a Lutheran property manager.
So I'm not sure about that, but you can talk about that.
So, because of the funding, this is open for people of all faiths and all considerations, so we can't impose, our faith on the residents of that church. Is there a Lutheran person? Possibly, but it can't be a requirement for that. And just, you might all recall that during our outreach effort and to understand, what is the management of these like, we actually went and visited St. Margaret's as well as a few others. We learned from that what's worked and what didn't work, and we have included in our agreement with Imagine Housing for the management of this project an active dialogue that will go on about it, so we can keep up with, because it will change over time. How are the services working together? How can we help? How's the management of the property? Are there any difficulties? So we really looked into that in close detail to make sure we had a real active dialogue with them, so we didn't have things fall through the cracks that people weren't aware of. So.
And then we have, for our 30 Bellevue property in Bellevue, that is with St. Luke's Lutheran Church. And what we do on a monthly, it may even be on a weekly basis, but on a monthly basis, at least, there is a meeting with all entities involved. Property management, case managers, St. Luke's, and then we also have Sophia's Way out of that space as well. And so there will be some sort of meeting that's set up where on a monthly, bi-weekly, weekly basis, all the groups involved will be able to come together to talk about challenges or successes. Hopefully lots of successes.
I'm curious, with so many multi-bedroom units, if there's going to be part of that process also making sure that the school district realizes an influx of students likely qualifying for free reduced lunch would be then moving into a school that is not set up for those sorts of supports. Because from here, they would go to Spirit Ridge Elementary, which doesn't have as many students qualifying as Lake Hills Elementary, which is on this side of the street. So literally, if we were across the street, they would go to Lake Hills, and where they have they're already a Title I school. That was, as a person who worked at Medina Elementary when the spot at St. Luke's opened, that was a huge problem because they just didn't have snacks on hand for the kids who wanted to bring a snack to school until their PTSA had to catch up with those needs. So I'm just wondering if we can make sure the district is kind of wrapped in that.
Do we have an estimate on how many kids are likely, based on historical?
No, yeah, I don't, because this is a large project, and so this is a larger multifamily project than we've done, so I don't have an estimate of how many kids or families could be there. But no, I think that's a great opportunity for us to do outreach to the district prior to this opening. So that I'll make a note of that and have that on my radar. Thank you for bringing that up. Another question, okay.
I suspect that there are a lot of retired teachers in this congregation, And it would make sense if we had a service group, once this is established, to do homework help.
That sounds great to me.
So just to add to her comment, Sue's comment, it'd be good for you to, we could give you a tour at some point of our church here, because, you know, we have built a whole education wing that doesn't really get used Monday through Friday. So if you think about opportunities for interaction and tutoring, how volunteers, even if the facility doesn't have space for that, you know, right here, we might have space for some of those kind of functions here, especially during the week. So those are just ideas that we as a congregation can start to think about how we would interface with it and both bring volunteers in and provide access to facilities that maybe aren't included in the building.
That's great. Love that. Okay, we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so resident services impact. So these are metrics from 2025. And so in 2025, we had almost 7,000 hours in direct resident support. So this included direct one-on-one resident support between a case manager and a resident. This is where a resident may have come into an office and been like, hey, I need resources for X, Y, and Z, and the case manager was able to provide those support. It may have been providing basic needs. It may have been providing some food support. But those are those direct case management hours. Then we have about half that are outreach hours. Again, the services are voluntary. People do not come into our program to be required to access these services. They have it offered to them as a way to support in their housing stability. And so oftentimes that requires quite a bit of outreach to actually get people involved. And so our case managers are not only calling residents, but they are posting flyers on their doors. They're posting calendars of events that are coming up. Anytime there's a new resource, they may go around and post that to residents' doors. But there's a lot of outreach that has to be done to engage residents in the services and the programming that we offer. Then community connection. So of our sites, across our sites, we did 473 on-site events. And so our case managers spent lots of time planning events during the year and hosting them for our residents. Like I was saying earlier, this could include coffee and donuts, community meals, art club is a big one. We have a case manager who partners with the Kirkland Arts Center and has them come on site and provide art club. And so lots of different events. Then almost 9,000 referrals to partners. So whenever a case manager provides a resource from a partner or they refer somebody to a partner, it is tracked in our database. And so residents got connected that many times to partners in our community. And so that's a really big deal and a really big number because that is what we are here to do for our residents. And then meeting basic needs. And so I'm not sure if you all have heard of a great nonprofit in the area called KidVantage. So they provide kind of items to both expectant mothers and new mothers and kids birth to 12. This could include diapers, clothing bundles, cribs, strollers, whatever it is. And they partner with a lot of the area nonprofits and schools and I believe churches that serve families. And so we had about 1,200 orders fulfilled during the year. And so lots of people in our program benefiting from them. And then a little over 17,000 basic needs items distributed across all of our properties. And so our residents were really able to benefit from that supplemental support. Any questions about this or these numbers? Yes.
So this sounds fantastic. A couple questions. One is the case manager in the building as a resident? Do they live there and provide? And what hours are they? And if not, what hours are they providing support? And then I have a second question.
Okay. So no, that's a great question. So our case managers would be on site. So our case managers are on site. They do not work from home. So the case manager that is stationed at this property. So not live here. No, they do not live on site, but they will work on site here.
What are the hours?
So we require, so since they have to be here on the property, the hours may be flexible because one thing about Imagine Housing is we are a 32-hour work week. And so we do allow our staff to make kind of more flexible schedules. But generally, the case manager will be on site at least 4 days a week, unless they have a 5-day-a-week schedule. And typically it's during business hours. So we prefer that.
And not weekends.
So not weekends. So they wouldn't work weekends. They might host an evening event once or twice a month. So they can be available for residents who may not be able to access them during the day. But they also hold office hours during the week. So that's time where they have to be in their office with the door open for residents to access them. And so that's at least 6 hours every week, but they're on site doing things, hosting activities, hosting events. They have to do admin work too, so they might spend time on site doing that as well. But they would be working on site, but not living on site.
So the second part of the question is, I've worked a lot with social workers for the last 4 decades, and in hospital settings, and they provide a tremendous amount of support for people in the hospital when they're leaving the hospital, hooking them up with just getting hooked up with insurances, or maybe how can I access insurance? How do I get SNAP benefits? Do you guys provide any kind of those kind of services to patients or sorry, to people, residents? Sorry, that's what my mind is in a different realm. But I'm just kind of thinking. You listed a whole bunch of really good stuff, and a lot of it I think overlaps a little bit with social workers. But is there a distinction here?
So, our case managers may have education in social work, but they're not like licensed social workers. But they can definitely walk through finding like insurance resources for residents. They can help them connect to state benefits. They can help them apply for unemployment. Like they can do a lot of stuff, but they can't do, say, social work like they can't counsel people or provide like drug and alcohol counseling. Like they're not qualified to do those things. It's a lot of resource navigation that our case managers do.
Next slide.
Yeah. And then I put together, so this is just a few of the partners that we work with. We work with so many more. Remember, you saw all of those referrals to partners that we put through. So it was definitely beyond this. But I wanted to highlight a few that we've been working with recently. So we have had King County Metro come on site to table at many of our properties to help residents connect to a lot of the resources that we have out there for transportation. Orca cards. We have the Link light rail now that crosses the water, and so many great resources. ICRON, so ICRON is a mental health service provider, and we actually, we partner in contract with them to have a therapist who works specifically with our communities and comes on site and has hours for residents to access them on site at our properties. And so that would definitely be something we want to do here at Forest Edge. And Uncluttered Mind, so Teresa here over in the corner, she is a professional organizer. And so we actually have funding to have her support some of our properties in Kirkland with residents who may be experiencing excessive clutter, hoarding disorders, things like that. Kindering, you guys may be familiar with Kindering. They are a birth to 5 program for families and kids, and so they provide like support to families and kiddos in that birth to 5 range. They come on site and do events with us all the time. Puget Sound Energy, they'll come on site and help people apply for energy assistance in the fall, which is wonderful. Woodland Park Zoo, we get tickets from them through their community access program that we're able to provide to our residents on site so they can go to the zoo. We also, last year for the first time ever, hosted a zoo day where we went with a bunch of residents to the zoo together. And you like rented a charter bus and it was a whole thing. And so we're planning to do that again this year. And I'm sure that would be popular here if we have a lot of families. Department of Social and Health Services, They have a mobile van, and we have been able to have them come out to some of our sites. So they are set up on site and are able to help people apply for benefits. And then Medicare Optimized, we have a partner who he is a Medicare navigator. And so he will come on site and help people navigate that very confusing system. So he comes to a lot of our senior properties. King County Library System has come and tabled at some events at our communities to talk to people about all that they can access through the library system and sign up for library cards. Then we have Kidvantage, which I talked about, and then the Kirkland Arts Center, which I also mentioned, who have come on site to host art and crafts events at one of our Kirkland properties. So we can move on to the next. And so this slide is the how can you all help? So this is an example of, oh, do you have a question? Okay. This is an example of some of the things that volunteers have done for us. And as you can see here, we had almost 400 volunteer hours in 2025 from volunteers. Our Community Programs and Partnerships Manager, she is the one who manages our volunteer program. And so as Forest Edge is getting up and running, she will definitely be doing a lot of outreach to see who we can get to be volunteers and do different volunteer projects for the site. So I wanted to run through some of the things that we have done. So as a way to get ideas of things that you all might be able to do. So creative and hands-on, lead an arts and craft event. So we've had partners come on site and lead these. This here is a volunteer group from Microsoft, I believe, who did an arts and crafts event at one of our community meals. And so they had a table and they helped residents make cards. Then creating door hangers for new residents with SAMA opening very, very soon. We actually also, I think, partnered with Microsoft to make door hangers to put on all the doors for new residents as they were coming into their new units. Then we have support for kids. I completely left off homework club here, but that was one of those things. Assembling snack packs for holidays and summer breaks. We have a group that is interested in doing this for the summer, which will be great for kiddos, especially when they're not able to access all of the school day food programs. Then we have school supplies drive. This is always a really big deal, is being able to have school supplies for the kids. We are able to get a lot of school supplies through Kidvantage, but that only goes up to age 12. So also being able to have school supplies for those older kids is important as well. Then community and connection, like I talked about, community meals. Our residents love a community meal. And so we've had groups come on site and both help pass out food, or I'm trying to think of the word, like assembly line food, like I don't know, distribute food, a buffet. Or they have made food off-site and brought it over to the property. And so this group right here is actually a group that was working through Holy Trinity Lutheran Church on Mercer Island, and they came. And then joining residents for a coffee and donut hour. You could even come over and socialize with residents for a coffee and donut hour, bring treats. And then welcome and comfort. As we open new buildings, we love to provide welcome baskets. And so with SAMA opening, we actually have welcome baskets that we've made for each household that has things from toilet scrubbers to aluminum foil to dish soap. So it could include anything. So putting together baskets like that. And then we have a group who also has quilted blankets for our SAMA residents as well. So each household will get a new blanket when they come into the building. So this is just a snapshot of the things that volunteers can do, but it sounds like you all may think of other ideas. You've already thrown out some great ideas today. But this is what we volunteers have contributed to our properties within the last year. And then, question, yes?
So through either the building or through one of these connected services, do they have like job readiness or resume building?
Yeah, so that is something that our case managers will connect people to a lot. And we have different program partners that we could bring on site to have those resources available to residents on site. Maybe during a community meal, somebody from a job readiness program could come on site and support people with that.
I'll just supplement that. HopeLink obviously has a really great program for that. They also have a mobile food bank that they've offered to come by our property, and because residents, they don't want to go to a food bank, they'd like to have it come to them. So anyway, Hopeling I think will be a great partner.
I actually worked at Hopeling for almost 7 years. So yes, we are actually working with them right now on some food programming. So yes, I mean, if they wanted to bring their mobile market here, that would be even better. Love that idea. Okay, so next slide. And so also wanted to let you know about an upcoming event we have for Imagine Housing. Some of you may be familiar, but we have our signature event coming up in May. So every year we do a big annual event. And so in May, we have this event coming up at the Woodmark Hotel on Lake Washington. That will include,
You bet it on the year.
oh no, I said 2025. That's a bummer. It's 2026. And so it is going to be an opportunity to learn more about what Imagine Housing does, all the way from development to asset management to resident services, but then also engage with other people who are interested in Imagine Housing and our mission, appetizers, fun, friends, things like that. So
Fundraising.
fundraising, I don't know if you want to speak to it a little bit more. But and so I just wanted to let you know that we have that coming up if you're interested in, just being more involved with Imagine Housing and what we do. So I think that's it.
So is there more questions from everybody?
Will there be a computer bank on site or access to the internet?
So we don't have we won't have like a computer lab on site. Typically what we do is help residents connect to low-income internet programs. We don't have like universal Wi-Fi at our properties, but we can help residents connect to those lower income internet programs if they qualify.
I'm just, if I remember correctly, we were just talking, that 60% mark is tied specifically to funding grants, is that correct? The median income having to be 60%?
So that's the development side of things that I am not as familiar with, so I'm gonna
Because I would follow.
Yes, low-income housing tax credits is required to have up to 60% of area median income for the, up to that. So we can have somebody less than that, but they have to at least, not more than 60%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it 40 to 60? Al?
So my follow-up was that, like, there's gonna be a lot of professionals that still don't qualify for that. Like, teachers won't be moving into
They
there.
make more money because they make more than
Yeah. If they had been teaching 6 years or more by themselves, they now make too much. And that's with a bachelor's and no extra credits. So like, that was my thing, was like, when we originally were talking about this, we were like, oh, and nurses might be moving in teachers and all this, and that's just not the case. And I totally support all this. I just was wondering if that was like tied to funding caps or if that was tied to something else.
But remember, that cap is for a family.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's the individual person, and so it's like they probably won't even qualify for like a studio, is what I'm saying.
But the income level will be lower for a single person?
Yes,
Right,
exactly.
that's what I'm saying. So like, that's what I was wondering, is if it was a cap based on funding, which it sounds like.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
So the range, the income levels expected to be people making 40% at the low side, up to 60%. Because other projects to get below 40 requires greater subsidy, more financial subsidy for the project, and this project is not targeted for that, nor have they gone out to look for that kind of subsidy for below 40% of area median income. So that's why that's a target. It is working families. It's people that can't afford to live in Bellevue. I mean, people making 70 or 80% probably can't afford to live in Bellevue either. But that happens to be what the funding's available for that, so that's what they're doing.
Okay, thank you.
I was curious a little bit about how the timelines, because you mentioned the project at the, I don't know, we're on 4 St. Peter site, which is down right off the 8th, that's also very close. I'm curious what their timeline roughly is compared to this, and when their expected construction or opening date is.
I don't.
I mean, even if you can ballpark it, just because I was curious.
So St. Peter's was progressing along. We just got funding from the city of Bellevue, over $12 million from the city of Bellevue for this project. The most they've ever given to any affordable housing project ever in the city of Bellevue. They actually accumulated money from a sales tax piece that they've been receiving for a number of years to aggregate all of that to support this project. So St. Peter's would be at least a year behind. I think they're really hoping that they get funding next year for their projects. They're at least a year behind us. And theirs is a little different structure, you know, what they're offering. But they will also be, I think, the same income group that we're talking about here. They may be lower income, I don't know about that.
Okay, they're probably at least a year
behind us. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So I know I've been given a note to plug for our next Sunday. We have, if you can come, we have a Safe Haven is going to present on our immigrant neighbors at the adult forum. So if there's any more questions, I know we're expected into the other room here shortly. I really want to thank Emily coming and joining us this morning. This has been great, I think, for me. For me, and I think many in the congregation, what you've shared today is what this is all about for this congregation. The building and the facility is great, but provide this kind of access in this great setting for members of our community that can't otherwise afford to live here is what it's all about. And I think we have a number of years to work on it, but I think there's a great amount of things we could get organized to help provide other services you've done in the past and help support those, but other ideas as well. Just given our facility and our close proximity, it will make a very great combination partnership.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll probably maybe be back at some point.
Yes, I'm sure you will. Yeah, yes. All right.
We can join the choir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Never ending.
All right.